Yeah.
Yes,
Madam Chair, you are live.
Wonderful. Thank you. I lost a committee member again. Counselor Castro, can you hear me? We will wait just one moment. Quality of it. Yeah. Where did Counselor Castro go? Sorry, everybody, false start. Get. Where are you going? We are calling meetings to order. If it kills me. All right. At 4:05 p.m., I am going to call the Wednesday, February 7th Quality of Life Committee meeting to order. Can I please have a roll call?
Counselor Michael Garcia,
He is excused.
Counselor Faulkner,
Here.
Counselor Castro,
Present.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
He is no longer on our committee. That would be Counselor Chavez that you're looking for, also excused.
and Chair Cassett.
I am here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes from the committee or from staff? And if not, can I get a motion?
Madam Chair, we have no changes.
I move to approve. Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay. Motion carries. And then moving on to consent, are there any items that anybody would like to pull off consent at this time? I don't believe we had any earlier, so there would not necessarily be staff. And if not, can I get a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Second. Motion and a second. May I please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Castro.
Yes.
Chair Cassett.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to our main event for the day. We have a presentation from the Film and Digital Media Council. We have Gay Dillingham from the Santa Fe Film and Digital Media Council Chair, who is here to present, as well as a number of other individuals that I am sure we will be introduced to. So I will pass it on over to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chair Cassett and commissioners, counselors rather, I'm sorry. First, I'd like to say how excited we are to be here because we've never gotten to present to the city. And we have been working really hard. So there's a lot to share with you. And so we're thrilled we're the only ones on your agenda as well. And we have a big team here. We are here to answer questions when we're done. So thank you so much for this opportunity to present. And as you said, my name is Gay Dillingham, and I'm chair for the Santa Fe Film and Digital Media Council. And our council is comprised of local media professionals formed in 2016 as an advisory group to the mayor and the city council and county on issues around the motion picture and television industries, as well as digital media. Our 21 members, of which 16 are full members and 5 are alternates, come from a very diverse, experienced group representing many facets of the media landscape. We are Santa Feans, your local champions for our industry. We worked really hard on the council's strategic action plan, which we completed in 2022. And our plan functions as our guiding document of principles and goals, summarized here with the full plan available as well, which is in your packets. We meet monthly as a council, and our structure includes 5 working groups. The slides detail each working group, its focus, goals, and accomplishments. Our Government Affairs Group focuses on legislative efforts that affect the greater media industry in the state and Santa Fe. This team leads our efforts to build relationships with local legislators to focus attention on Santa Fe's unique position in the Santa Fe film and media industry landscape. Robert Dennis is here, who's the chair of this working group, and he will be here to answer questions. With the mayor's approval, this group worked hard to improve on the 2023 film tax incentives legislation and make changes for the benefit of the Santa Fe region. This was a challenge since EDD did not include us nor the Santa Fe Film Office in crafting the initial legislation. And we asked for the bill, however, did not get to read it until Senate Bill 12 actually dropped. The city and state must go beyond developing a workforce to service only out-of-state productions. We must lead in creating opportunities for New Mexico producers, writers, directors, editors, actors. We call this above the line because in a budget, those are the roles that are above the line and crew is below the line. So I'll be using that term quite a bit and I just want to explain it. We look to our community, local government, and investors to find the necessary financial and educational opportunities that will create a complete industry ecosystem for content originating in New Mexico. This will certainly underpin and future-proof our industry. Our Film Loan Fund group looks to revive a dormant New Mexico State Investment Council film financing program. This goal is among our recommendations to the mayor. Members of our group plan to meet with the SIC soon to present our ideas geared specifically to benefit New Mexico and Santa Fe-based media creators. We can provide a detailed plan upon request and of course want your guidance and approval to do that. Our next group brings together post-production professionals to identify opportunities to locate post-production in Santa Fe. Bringing post-production will create more high-wage local employment and will compel filmmakers to stay in Santa Fe. This is our opportunity to make Santa Fe the creative center for film and media finishing in all of New Mexico. Santa Fe Community College, Stagecoach Foundation, and the Institute for American Indian Arts. These are three of our impressive Santa Fe media training institutions and are represented on this council. They work together to help fulfill the educational goals and workforce training needs for our region. A few examples of their synergies include internship training programs, a screenwriters conference in November this year, an Indigenous filmmaker incubator program, and an upcoming partnership in a directing and screenwriting workshop with NYU Film School, Tisch Film School, which is a very reputable film school. So we're certainly lucky to have them. And we do have James Wysong, Dean of Community College, here with us, as well as Elizabeth Stammer from Stagecoach Foundation to really get into the education conversation. Movie Maker magazine, you probably know, has named Santa Fe #1 place to live and work in the film industry for the last 2 years. And 2023 concluded a significant year of change in New Mexico's efforts to stimulate production. Our industry faced 2 long strikes. The recommendations our council presented to the mayor in December resulted from our efforts made this past year and are as follows. This is our big slide with all our recommendations, so bear with me here. Santa Fe features unique magnetic attributes with our history, culture, and landscape. You all know this better than anyone. Beyond our good crew jobs, we must affirm Santa Fe as the center for creative above-the-line talent, those living here and those who would like to move here. Our goal is to build out the entire New Mexico media ecosystem, capitalizing on the unique attributes of our city different. The opportunity is now to embrace our creative talent and put a spotlight on Santa Fe as a global brand. Let's go with it. Post-production is an intense creative period during which a media project takes final form. Currently, post-production exits the state, California, New York, elsewhere. The city must do more to capture these high-wage jobs and the final 25% of production spend to assure more of it remains in Santa Fe and the state as well. With post-production facilities in Santa Fe, we can remain a hub of media creative energy. We are working with Aspect Studios to help recruit and anchor a large post-production house into the Midtown campus. Reviving the Film Loan Fund must be a focus of attention from the city with the SIC. These are dollars urgently needed to seed New Mexico originated film and content creation. We are confident our proposal guidelines will assure the dollars remain in New Mexico, prime the pump to support our local above-the-line talent, keep our workforce more consistently employed, and present low risk to the SIC funds and our taxpayer dollars. The Governor's Film Council agrees and supports reviving this fund. We see this as a key to build a full ecosystem by enabling our Santa Fe media creators to access early funding by basically banking their approved rebate dollars. Timing is everything. So training our uniquely skilled workforce requires education dollars. And with the 2023 film incentives legislation, our schools lost a key source of funding of training dollars when the state ended the Give Back Fund. Our state productions contributed to the Give Back, out-of-state productions contributed to the Give Back Fund when they failed to employ enough New Mexicans. The fund acknowledged our need to develop a local New Mexico workforce, and those dollars were an important contribution to our training efforts. The state's MAC, the Media Arts Collective, it used to be called the New Media Academy, will rely on our outlying educational institutions to feed students into its onset training opportunities. Yet these are the institutions now crippled by the loss of the Give Back Fund. Funding media training is more critical than ever. We recommend the city work with the state to replace funds lost with the elimination of this Give Back program. Whoops. Oh, can't touch it. This is not my computer. I didn't know if I, excuse me, where were we? Okay. The film and media industry is no exception to the need for affordable housing. While our state enjoys a growing base of below-the-line crew, much of this workforce is by nature concentrated in Albuquerque to be close to the production infrastructure located there. Filming and production in Santa Fe, however, requires that workforce to commute an hour or more north to our city. We must house this crew in temporary housing, which becomes a challenge, especially around the tourist-heavy times of year. To maintain consistent crew availability around Santa Fe, we must secure more production, affordable, short-term hotel-type housing. Further, much of our talent is young, therefore we must also build more affordable homes to keep them in Santa Fe. Last year's incentive package increased the rural uplift from 5 to 10%. This uplift zone adds the 10% production incentive to areas outside the Albuquerque and Santa Fe corridor. Unfortunately, poor areas like Espanola and Las Vegas do not qualify for that additional 10% because they're too close to Santa Fe. The legislation also defines Las Cruces as rural, qualifying it for 10% uplift, and they now aggressively market this additional tax break to attract more productions to the southern part of the state. Our surrounding Native American communities do not directly benefit from our state's film tax incentive program, as the program leverages collection of GRT. Significant obstacles remain to achieve incentives equitably among our varied and diverse communities. We encourage efforts within Native lands and our pueblos as they consider their own future plans for attracting production. We stand by to support and consult where and when invited to assist, so we can together grow and benefit from increased media production within the entirety of New Mexico. I noticed Commissioner Green is here from the county, who has been helping lead that effort, along with Jen Labar-Tapia, who's here, thank you, from our Santa Fe Film Office. Right on time, because I'm getting ready to brag about Jen. Jen Labar-Tapia, Santa Fe Film office director and sole employee, is our city and county's keystone to assuring success of all media production and ensures compliance with city and county policies. Jen engages in community outreach and education and works with partners in the public and private sectors to expand opportunities for local residents. We work to support Director Labar Tapia's efforts and consult with Jen on a regular basis. We are certainly grateful for her and proud of the Santa Fe Film Office. Our city is uniquely positioned to facilitate connection with the creative community into our local businesses and finance arenas. We believe city involvement, we can make these connections and promote Santa Fe as the creative center, lifting the whole of New Mexico. Without Santa Fe, the incentive program generally, since more states are getting into it, it's a bit of a race to the bottom. So that's why we need to really, this is our main focus. In green infrastructure, our industry increasingly needs to turn to green and sustainable resources to mitigate waste and environmental impact. The city can leverage this industry effort to engage the wider community in developing more green infrastructure throughout Santa Fe. I know you had a consultant, Jesse Laufer, that came and looked at a lot of what could be done, and he presented to our council, and we like what he's done with the kiosks and so forth. So we support. Well, I can give you more information on that later too. An improved and redeveloped Santa Fe Airport and its ancillary transportation is critical to our industry. I'm sure you've heard that before. The rail runner and reliable mass transit between the population centers better benefits our industry and people of all income levels. As we face 2024 growth in production, Jen is going to be even more stretched. So we recommend city and county secure funding necessary to support the film office. And I do know you're in process with that, so we're happy about that. Lastly, we support the Midtown redevelopment with Aspect Studios. Our next slide provides an update. Aspect brings major expansion of production capacity to the Santa Fe region with plans to develop 6 sound stages and production support space, a tremendous resource for incoming productions and opportunity for local media creators alike. Film and media training programs are underway in partnership with the Community College and Stagecoach. Aspect is working with Santa Fe International Film Festival to increase awareness of Santa Fe as a film destination. And our council supports the recent request for funding from that Santa Fe International Film Festival. They presented to us yesterday, and their growth plan looks really good. Aspect Studios at Midtown will be an economic driver in Santa Fe, and we are excited for their vision for a film village. Changes to our film tax incentive structure now put our own cities in competition with one another, not just in competition with other states. So Santa Fe must aggressively market to overcome these challenges and promote these unique assets we've talked about. Our key goal is to work with city government to leverage funds from local, state, federal, and private sources to grow our Santa Fe creative media community, creating stories by New Mexicans, to employ New Mexicans, to entertain a worldwide audience looking for diverse voices are a primary focus for us. We must lead, not follow. New Mexico's entire media industry will thrive long-term if we build and nurture our Santa Fe creators. Thank you so much for inviting us tonight, and we welcome your questions. And let me introduce some others that we have not gotten to introduce. This is our whole team, not the whole team, but many of the team. Desba, she's an actor, and you can say more about yourself if you'd like. We've got Elizabeth Stammer, Dr. Stammer, Stagecoach Foundation. Anna Dara, who's also leading the Above the Line working group and vice chair of this commission. Robert Dennis is our most valuable player. He helped pull a lot of this information and get it into the form so we could present it. And he's also the chair of the Government Affairs Working Group. I've already introduced Dean James Wysong from Community College, Commissioner Green, Jen Labar Tapia, and Casey is our trustee, keeps us going as the city staff person that's been assigned to us. So that's our team that's here. Thank you, Chair.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. I chair economic development and we frequently talk about, our key industries that we really want to grow, our growth industries, and film is always one. So to see the work that you're putting in is really wonderful. So thank you. I'll turn it over to the committee. Questions or comments at this time? Counselor Faulkner.
So just out of curiosity, why weren't you included in the drafting of the legislation? I mean, do you have, is that a
That's our
trick question?
Unfortunately, none of the film offices were included, nor the governor's council.
Who is
So-
the sponsor?
It came through EDD and into the New Mexico Film Office, and the sponsor Nancy Rodriguez, who is from here. And when we did ask, she did ask Secretary Keys to call when it was circulating after the bill had dropped. So we did get to meet with Secretary Keys and Amber Dodson from the film office after it had already dropped and was being negotiated still. So we had the same question. We would like to work together. That's our goal. Oh, Economic Development Department for the state EDD.
Oh, Counselor.
So I think, and Las Cruces did a great job to lobby for themselves at this last session. And so that's why we realized Santa Fe needs to get in there too. And we are here to work with you to get our needs met as well, because meeting our needs actually helps all of New Mexico. And it's a full ecosystem that I don't think was fully considered prior. We were more focused, and we've done a great job since Governor Richardson really helped build this program all those years ago, and one of the first states into that incentive program. We've done a good job of training crews, and we'll still do that. We think that's a fabulous program. We just need to add our own above the line media creators.
Wonderful. Thank you. Counselor Faulkner, did you have anything else? Counselor Castro, to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. And thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you all for being here. I'm very excited. I think this is really timely in terms of what we're thinking of for the next legislative session. The city does have a lobbyist, so please lobby us to lobby the state. I had a couple questions around housing. I just want a little more explanation around the hotel style housing, and if that's sort of a transition, since we are sort of trying to recruit locally, we might need less of that housing. What does that look like in the future?
Good question. Jen, it's really like hotel style where you have kitchenettes. Thank you, Jen.
Good afternoon, counselors. So Counselor Castro, to answer that question, typically when they are housing crew, ideally what they would like are what Chair Dillingham just mentioned, more the kitchenette style, or even like a dorm style, where maybe it's, for example, like Lobo Village, if ever you've seen Lobo Village, where they have the 3 independent rooms, they each have their own bathrooms, they each have their own closets, but they have common living areas within those 3 rooms. There's a common kitchen and there's a common sitting area. There's a washer and dryer in each of the units. So 3 to 6 crew members could live in something like that in one unit, or just having the individual kitchenettes. Because when they're here, for example, when they're filming Dark Winds up at Camel Rock Studios, if they're staying at Buffalo Thunder or Homewood Suites or whatever that looks like, they are in those hotel type rooms, and they're there for months at a time. So, and they don't want to eat out necessarily every night, and they have to make it home for a duration of time. So it's something that's comfortable enough to make it home.
That could be something we include in our workforce housing conversation in the Midtown campus. Just
Yes.
future thought. Thank you.
And to circle back to Counselor Faulkner's question, it was 2 sponsors. It was Senator Rodriguez and Senator Jeff Steinborn, and he's the president of Film Las Cruces. So he, of course, he had an interest in increasing the Las Cruces up to 10%. Oh, yes. And another point is Las Cruces does have a larger population than Santa Fe, but they're considered rural. So there are some things we were very outspoken about at the last session, but it still passed in the final hour. The bill itself did drop. It just fell apart, but it got thrown into the tax bill in the final hour. where some of these were able to sneak in at 11:59.
You know, for reference, Counselor Castro, did you have anything else?
No, it was just a reminder that this is a great time. We're closing up a legislative session, so we have a whole year to sort of plan for our next legislative agenda.
So to go over some of the incentives, let's lay a baseline there. I could use a reminder, but what are the various incentives? Which ones do Santa Fe qualify for? Obviously, we're talking about Las Cruces just having expanded because of the being classified as rural. So I know that you went over this wonderfully in EDAC. So if you want to do it for anybody else, I think getting that kind of baseline knowledge of what some of the state incentives are for film. And then follow up to that question, where does the city/county come in? So are we more in a role where we're looking for advocacy, working with the state to benefit Santa Fe, or are there ways that the city and county governments in other places, or that you guys have been looking at, ways that we can really help ourselves in building this? So kind of a broad question, but whoever wants to take it away, take it away.
Okay, so Counselor Cassett, thank you for the question, counselors. So the elevator pitch for our incentive program is it starts at 25% that you'll get back from the state on any qualified spend. That's for the whole state. So that means you hired local crew, you used local resources, anything that was used, that New Mexican resources, New Mexico crew, all of that is incentivized. The way it was developed under the Richardson administration in the early 2000s was it was developed to benefit New Mexicans and to keep the money here in our state, whereas other states allow productions to bring in whoever they want. They do their production, the production leaves and the money leaves with it. So we're all about job growth. We're about keeping the money here, keeping our economy strong in the industry. We were really good about building up our crew along with our resources. So we're at a really good space where we have a really good, in terms of all of our local resources, in terms of all of our local crew, we've really built that up together with the incentive program. So for an example, if a production were to book on Airbnb for their talent to come in and they stay at one of our homes here, because they booked it through Airbnb, it doesn't qualify because they're not a brick and mortar business in New Mexico. But if you went through one of our local property management companies and you booked it through them, same house, same everything, it gets incentivized. You book your airline tickets through a travel agent, they're still around. So you book it through a local travel agent, that flight will be incentivized. If you book it directly through American Airlines, it will not be incentivized. So if you just think about it that way. So that's 25% on anything that's New Mexico based. So then there's uplifts. So the 5% uplift would mean that you are on a qualified studio set stage. For example, our Western sets, we have 7 Western sets in Santa Fe County. They are all qualified production facilities. So if you're filming on our Western sets, you get the 5% uplift. You're at the Aspect Studios, you're at Garson Studios, you get that 5% uplift. So now you're at 30%. If you are a series, so if you are a 6-order series, meaning you have at least 6 episodes, there is a minimum spend on that, but that can also be incentivized. That's affectionately called the Breaking Bill Bad. So I'm sorry. You guys are paying attention. See, I was just testing you. Make sure you're paying attention. So the Breaking Bad bill, that's when that came to be, when Breaking Bad was so popular and they were throwing so much money into our economy by being here for so long. So they looked at doing episodic shows and how that could be incentivized. But at Santa Fe level, we can max out at 30% because you cannot stack that series and you cannot stack the qualified film productions on that. So really, we're capped out at 30%. And that's true for anyone in the state. So it's either you're a series or you're on a qualified stage. So now where you get the additional 10% uplift, that's when you're in what they call the rural area, which is 60 miles outside of City Hall for both Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So when you go 60 miles north, that's Taos. And so everybody in between, and it's the whole circumference. And so it's wiping out everybody that are truly rural communities that have the same challenges that if you're filming in the South, by bringing your resources to a remote area, you've got to house them, you've got to get all the trucks up there, you've got to do, it's the same challenges. So that's just what we are fighting against, is that we should at least, if you want to knock out Santa Fe and Albuquerque, fine, but our that circumference around us, it's not fair to all of our neighboring communities. And they get that 40%. So if they're on a qualified stage, which typically there, I don't think there's even qualified stages outside of the area. So really you're at 35%. But if they stack it right and that works, then they could get up to 40%. So we're at 30%. The rural communities can get up to 40%.
And this was the difference with what happened with Cruces, correct? That they somehow their city hall is no longer, it's really just Santa Fe and Albuquerque. Our city halls are the ones that are the bullseye of the, okay.
And it's because Albuquerque sees about 50% of all film production in a year. Santa Fe sees about 35% of it. And so we're the two most popular markets. I mean, since the inception of our film office in 2016, it's always been a joint city-county office. We brought in $1.3 billion into the Santa Fe economy just by film. So we're the big players in the state. And so I get why the state's doing it. They want to incentivize productions to look outward of Santa Fe and Albuquerque, but having that 10% and having it all and wiping out our truly rural communities, that's where the heartburn is.
Interesting. And then to the second part of the question around, what are the roles of the city and the county, maybe specifically with this or in other ways that of growing? Because a lot of it is how do we pull down dollars from the state? How do we take advantage of these incentives? But it does sound like there's, kind of this call to action from the governing body, from the mayor, from OED of how we continue to leverage these. So is this really, pushing and advocating as we continue to look forward at session, or are there other ways that you are seeing us able to advocate? As you said, it may not necessarily be the city of Santa Fe, but helping our partners at the county as well as, the surrounding areas that definitely are more rural, despite the fact that they are relatively close to Santa Fe.
And Councilor Cassett, it's an interesting point that you just bring that up because first of all, the city and the county, they equally put into the operation budget of the Santa Fe Film Office. So I look at myself as a city employee and a county employee, even though administratively I'm on the county side, but everything else, we're right down the middle. I am your colleague and I'm here for city and county representing the whole Santa Fe area. But the way we look at the Santa Fe Film Office, we're the gateway to the north. So I talk on a very regular basis with San Miguel County and with Las Vegas. I talk regularly with Rio Arriba County and the city of Espanola. Their new ED director was just in my office before the holidays, giving her the laydown of permitting and best practices for film and what do you do when a film production comes in. So I work really closely with our neighboring counties and cities. Red River actually just reached out to me 2 weeks ago asking for assistance as well. So I just look at it that, that's great. They're looking at the north. We want them in the north. And even if they're going to be filming up at Ghost Ranch or wherever they're at, they're going to be staying here. So they're going to have production offices here. They'll have their housing here. They're going to eat here. They're going to bring their family here. So we'll still benefit one way or another, even if maybe the whole production isn't actually here. But if they're somewhere around us, they're going to be here. They like being here.
Well, why wouldn't they? And of course, we are definitely the most urban hub of it's funny to call it urban of northern New Mexico. So, and then there was Gay, you made a comment about capturing post-production to stay in the city. And this is actually something that when I've spoken to people about, areas to focus that really create a lot of economic development, this one can sometimes be overlooked. So happy to hear that we're not. What are the different things that are needed? I know broadband has been a conversation, and obviously we've done a lot of work in that arena, but other things that are really crucial in order to really capture that part of the industry.
Hi, I'm Robert. I worked in post-production out of Burbank, California for many years, places such as Technicolor, Ascent Media, Lucasfilm. So I have some experience to bring to this. There's a meeting tomorrow, for example, with a post-production company that's coming out from Burbank with Philip at Aspect Studios, and I'm going to be part of that conversation tomorrow. What's required for post-production? First of all, post represents about 25%, 10 to 25% roughly of a production budget. So it's a large chunk of money, depending of course on the size of a budget. If you've got $100 million feature, it might be 25, 30 million. It could be even more depending on the visual effects component that's required. That then requires color correction. It requires audio mixing. It requires a number of facilities and a certain square footage, probably 2,000 to 3,000 square feet at a minimum. And the folks who work in the business do also require a great deal of customer service attention. So you have to have a very strong personnel component who can establish a very strong relationship with the directors and producers who come in, or who are producing even here in the state, which is ultimately our goal, to build out a more statewide ecosystem for production to then feed into post-production. It's a very technical area. Broadband is critical for that, for then distributing the files that come in. We do have a couple of dailies operations in town. There are two other organizations that I know. One is currently building out at least a review facility. And that gentleman, Steve Graham, is actually on our council. So he's building out a facility as we speak. And it was just announced a couple of days ago, there's a nonprofit called WEST, W-E-S-S-T. And I've initiated a conversation with them to find out more specifically what their plans are. So there is some interest brewing, but right now that 25% spend goes out of state completely, with the exception of dailies. So it's a very technically focused part of the overall picture, if you will. I mean, it's everything that's required to finally get it up on streaming. I hope that answers some of the questions. Well, these are very high-paying jobs. You could be talking, you know, six-figure jobs easily for colorists, perhaps even higher than that in some cases. So it's going to take a little bit of while to establish the relationships, to really solidify the kind of service that post-production requires. But these are high-paying jobs that stay in the state. They don't leave the state. They generally, if we had that capability here, we could really capture a very large portion of the overall production spend. I do know that, for example, when I read the film partner agreement with Netflix, they're required by that agreement to open up a post facility by 2027. I've heard nothing about that to this point. It would take probably 6 months to a year to really get something going. So they may be waiting a little bit longer before they build that out. One other aspect too is there's a statute which defines what a film partner is. And in that statute, it requires the film partner be a production company. That is, somebody who's actually producing a motion picture, or producing a television series, some actual scripted piece, documentary, whatever. It does not include post-production. So there's no way that an incoming post-production facility, such as the one that we're going to be meeting with tomorrow, could become an official film partner with the state of New Mexico. And that then complicates, if you're going to be doing post-production, you're going to be servicing several different customers at once. Each one of those customers then has to register with the state to access the tax incentives. And our idea is there must be a way to change the definition in the statute, broaden it to include post-production, and enable then that post-production entity to capture the incentives and help manage that process on behalf of their clients. So there's statute and legislation that we think could be effective if changed to better incentivize post-production to stay in the state, as well as making space available and then training the workforce. Folks like James at SFCC are going to need to beef up their capabilities in producing folks who know how to do color correction, who know how to work with Avid. There are challenges right now in getting Avid training here in the city. I've been meeting with Elizabeth, and we're going to be having another meeting hopefully this weekend to talk about some of that. And it's not a big chunk of change that they need to get Avid being an editorial system, which is the standard in the industry. So there are hurdles to be overcome, some low hurdles, some larger hurdles, but really it's the whole package, the whole post-production end of it, that if we had it here, we could really benefit, the whole industry could benefit.
Wonderful. And I'm really happy to hear you talk about that educational piece. You know, we frequently have this conversation around, as we bring in industries, also being really mindful of Santa Fe's history of displacement. And that we want these high-paying jobs to really be available for our local population. And so that it's not just importing people from other places who have had this experience in other places or, you know, gone to school in other places, but providing that educational pipeline and potentially how we start to connect with our high school students to let them know that this is a possibility. Here are the programs, and that you can, you know, either stay or go and come home. And these jobs are here for New Mexicans, for Santa Feans. So yes, if you'd like to speak more to that, I know that that is something
Why
that we're
so?
really
That was-
mindful.
Question.
Madam Chair, counselors, and staff, I want to tell you a little bit about something we're very excited about at Santa Fe Community College, and that's the tremendous increase we've had in our dual credit program at our local high schools. And it does exactly what you're speaking of. It not only opens the opportunity up for those students to consider in terms of all manner of careers, but for those who want to go into a film technician training program so that when they graduate from high school, they're 18, got a clean driving record, they complete the courses, primarily junior and senior year, they can get half their time off the union overflow list and go to work on a production. And these jobs, these below the line jobs that you heard mentioned, the median income on those is around $29 an hour. So that's putting them into jobs that actually have some earning potential and some growth potential. People that have worked in the industry will tell you that that's the start. That's where they see, oh, maybe I want to do that or do this. And so many of them will come back to us for additional training for an associate's degree or for a transferable associate's degree to even move into the above the line. So we're excited about it. Our enrollment now with our dual credit partners, and that's primarily Santa Fe, Capital, New Mexico School for the Arts, and Santa Fe Indian School. We're around 300 students now that are enrolled in that program. So it's been a real growth area, and it's an honest opportunity we're presenting for those students. Many of whom, by the way, have expressed no other interest in higher ed. So this is, again, a way for them to move into a real career and not into jobs that may be dead end.
That's really, really exciting. Did you have something to add? And then I know Counselor Faulkner has a follow-up question on this topic.
Thank you, Counselor Cassett and other counselors. So I'm the Executive Director of Stagecoach Foundation, and I do work very closely with Santa Fe Community College, Institute of American Indian Arts, and colleges across the state to help people get jobs. And in the last legislative session, one of the things that was eliminated was the Give Back program. And speaking with other senators, the perception that the FTTP program still exists is not true. There is not a funding for training, and it was completely eliminated in the last session.
I'm sorry, FTTP, Film Training Something Program.
It was a film technician training program, which was a funded program, but it was eliminated during Governor Martinez's tenure. And the Give Back program had some equity issues of how funds were being basically doled out to the different organizations. And then it was eliminated entirely. The last fiscal year ending, there's about a half a year's worth of monies that are still being collected through state tax and rev and will slowly be doled out. But once those are gone, it's over. So where does the funding come to help all of our film training programs across the state and 2- and 4-year programs? And really, it sounds like the JTIP program is probably the most logical, but the JTIP program limits those workforce training funds to programs that lead to jobs that are year round. And because the below the line jobs are really gig opportunities, they're not leading to work in 52 weeks a year, it doesn't qualify. And so changing the language just enough to include film workforce training from the 2- and 4-year programs and nonprofits that focus on film workforce training could create a revenue stream to help continue funding these training programs. Further on that, in order to help incentivize productions to bring on these entry-level folks, changing again the language of the FCAP program, which incentivizes programs productions to, at this point, is only for existing union members moving into managerial or supervisor positions. It does not qualify for entry-level positions, meaning the folks that just went through the 2-year dual credit program that are graduating from high school, there's not an incentive for productions to bring them into these entry-level jobs. And really, at the end of the day, networking and being able to create relationships, becoming part of a team is what's really necessary. And we do have a long history of some gatekeeping at the union level that's definitely beginning to diminish, but there's still, how many people are going to be able to get jobs, how many productions are coming, and that opportunity of actually lifting up this new generation of workforce from the beginning can help have a longevity. If they're being met with old cronyism, they're going to get tired. And I would actually say that maybe the median income is more than $29 an hour. Most of the union jobs start between 32 and 34. So, one union job in a family changes 3 generations. It gives them the capacity to move up from eking a life past survival into thrival and capable of taking care of themselves, their children, and their parents. So investing in union jobs and helping New Mexicans be the ones that are filling those positions makes us a strong workforce. And it's, I really would love for this council to lobby for JTIP to include film workforce training and for FCAP to be also identifying entry-level jobs.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that and for really can hear the passion there and really appreciate that. And I was just thinking that probably what would be helpful is maybe in the late fall as everyone's gearing up for session, whether it's EDAC or here, coming in and maybe giving us a legislative preview of, what are the things that you're looking at and why. I think that that's, right now session's just about over. We got a 60-day coming up next year. But I think that that would be a really wonderful opportunity for us to have that base knowledge ahead of session. So thank you. Counselor Faulkner, you had a follow-up?
It's not a question, it's a comment. I know in my district, one of the challenges is a lot of young people are not going to go to a 4-year program. And so programs like this that are shorter and more concentrated actually give them access to a future they wouldn't have had before. And so I like this program. I've followed it for a bit because of my district, and I also worked on some film way back in the day. But I just really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity to give some of the kids in our city a chance to get out of the cycle of being in an at-risk population.
If I could ask Commissioner Justin Green to give you a little update on the incentives as it relates to Camel Rock and some of our indigenous population.
Thank you, Madam Chair and councilors. The 2 things. One, I think the anything that we want to get through the legislature from the city and county perspective of this really has to be done during the interims, right? And be packaged during the interims so that whatever bill comes out of the interims is ready to go and presented to the commission and the council towards the end of the summer and in the fall. But all the work gets done in the summer at that point. So you may not be successful, but at least you get the word across there. But in terms of working with our Native American community and in Camel Rock, Santa Fe County, and the Pueblo of Tesuque happened to be the home of Camel Rock Studios, which was the first indigenously owned film production facility in the country. And this started about 5-6 years ago at this point, and was lucky enough to have a Tom Hanks film land there right to start. And that's a great way to start your production business. Now it is the home of Dark Winds, which is another very successful film. And it is, again, another production that is pretty Native oriented. There's a lot of Native writers on it. Of course, it's a Native story. There's producers that are non-Native, but it is a pretty Native-centric production. One of the issues prior to this year was that the film office at the state and Tax and Rev was deciding that films were not eligible for the rebate. So This was like literally the most unjust thing out of the film incentive program. Like native films produced on native lands were not eligible for this. And so out of a level of persistence, and Jen and this group and I pushed the film office to a point where they got us a meeting with Tax and Rev, and Tax and Rev reinterpreted the law and said, we've discovered a 2-letter word that we can interpret differently. It was the difference between the word in and by. And, you know, this is what lawyers do. And they go figure out how to change things by just changing 2 letters. And so it turns out, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but in the past, the law was interpreted as to be eligible, productions must be taxed by the state of New Mexico. And then they looked at the enabling law and they said, oh, looky here. It actually says to be eligible, films need to be taxed in the state of New Mexico. And because many of the tribes, almost all of the tribes, have taxing agreements with the state of New Mexico, they would be taxed in the state of New Mexico. So now Dark Winds is going to be eligible for this. And this is great because this is, you know, a 10 to 20 to $30 million production spend every year. And they will get that 30% rebate because it is a qualified spend in there. So we were persistent and we got this not just for Tesuque Pueblo and their production facility. This is now for all native lands across the state. And so that's a wonderful thing. Also at Santa Fe County, we're working on a collaborative effort to look at how to build the Native American film initiatives around the North, really. Not only in Santa Fe County, we started initially with talking to the 4 tribes in northern Santa Fe County, but since then we've talked to the 8 northern Pueblos, and they are all interested in having their own input and investment in the film industry. So as you know, Camel Rock Studios is now the first native-owned facility. Pewaukee is interested in building some support facilities, whether it's not necessarily a film stage, right? And more in the, you know, they're already in the hotel business, right? They've got Camel Rock, or they've got Home and Suites, and they've got the Hilton up there that a lot of film productions rent out. They're also looking at warehousing and costume shops and the support things. Everybody sort of wants to get into, I want sound stages, but there's a lot of other aspects that are necessary in this. So we're working with them as a collaborative effort in an effort to get them all to understand, not to overbuild in one single thing, but to collaborate and have a complete portfolio of support stuff.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for adding all that and for everybody's work with TRD. That makes a huge difference. So congratulations on that success as well. That's a big one. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? If not, then we'll go ahead and give ourselves a little bit of a break. We have a long meeting starting at about 5:30. Just a couple last minute comments that I had, or maybe not. Well, I thought I had some, but I forgot about them. So I will follow up when I remember them. But I do really want to thank you all for your work. Really appreciate you coming here. Please do feel free to reach out. You know, if there are other opportunities with quality of life or again, with economic development, Casey is my liaison there as well. So we have an easy connection.
I just wanted to also reintroduce Anna Dara and just to do a final, yeah, please, she's vice chair of our.
Hello. Thank you, Chair and council members. So I just wanted to throw out one last piece, which kind of wraps up sort of the reason why we're here today and really what we focus on, which is, you know, when we're looking at the incentive program, it's amazing how many people it supports. It is really thriving. And right now with so many productions happening at once, it's amazing. If those incentives went away for any reason at all, there'd be a whole lot of people out of work. And if we can build the creative resources within Santa Fe, within New Mexico, to actually make films from here and of here, we could keep everyone employed. It would be a sustainable industry. So that's where we're coming from, is like, there needs to be a little more balance because it's all been going out. So that's.
Well said.
Thank you. And that's a goal that I know we all very much support here. So Well, thank you all so much. Truly, truly appreciate your time. Oh, Jen, that sizzle reel, I'm a little sad we didn't see it, so maybe pop it over to the committee, post it on Prime Gov. I think that we should get that thing everywhere. So that's always fun. And thank you all so much.
Thank you for your service, and you can call on us at any time.
We will. Thank you. All right, let's move on to where am I? That is the next meeting. I don't need that agenda right now. That is my meeting from earlier. Okay, here we go. Got three meetings today, 3 agendas up. Oh, moving on to matters from staff. Pass it over to you, Director Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to the rest of the council. I want to say before they all leave that I've been involved with the Film Council since I started the city in 2018. And this action plan was a fantastic investment from the city. And so I want to commend Chair Gilliam for the work that the whole team has done to see this action plan in place and actually get it in front of committees, which we've talked about, that you have to bring it in front of policymakers. So congratulations to all of you. I'm looking forward to how we can support that. So
I want to thank Rich because he really guided and supported the entire process. So thank you, Rich.
you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you guys very much. I have a couple things. I know we have another agenda further down the road. So I'll just briefly talk about some of the things that are happening. On the land use side, we have been invited to attend a quarterly meeting from the AIA, the American Institute of Architects. So tomorrow, the land use department leadership and the MRA director and I with the mayor will be there to speak on some issues that they'd like to address, and then also talk about some of the things that we're doing. Also, I'm hoping that in the next month that I can have the land use director come and talk about the code update and the general plan update. He's also working on the recruitment for the strategic planner. I'm very excited about that part. We're going to find a seat for them. On the MRA side, as it relates to Midtown, we have over 50 candidates for the Midtown MRA Commission, which is a lot of candidates. We are working very diligent on the disposition agreement, so I want to thank the council here for their support of that process. And they spoke to a lot of the things that are going on with the Garson Studios and Aspects. So we're very excited about some of the things that are happening with post-production, broadband, et cetera. On the economic development side, we just finished an outdoor industry convening on Monday morning, and they had about 60 people there, I think 60-some people there. Director Nelson has a finance support fair coming up on the 28th, the GCCC, and she'll probably put that in the update newsletter, so you'll see that soon. And I think today she talked about her action plan, or she gave you some updates on the action plan. So we're good about that. And then on the asset development side, we have received our results back from the Las Estrellas parcel, and we have a couple of responses back. And so the eval team is looking at all those right now on top of the parcel 6A mixed-use housing and affordable housing option that we have. So the eval team, I think, met today on that. And then lastly, I'll just sort of throw here lastly that the tourism department has just released their visitor guide. So the visitor guide is out and it's beautiful. I just attended a seminar earlier this morning with Eco Grounds, which is our LGBT business roundtable. And one of the things that they talked about is creating safe spaces in Santa Fe. And one of the things I want to do in the next guide that comes out is put an ad in this guide that says Santa Fe is a safe space for everyone, because we talk about belonging and being a sanctuary city at the same time. So this visitor's guide is beautiful, and it covers all the events coming up, all of the hotels that are here. It covers all of the different aspects of what you can do once you get here, because we like the stickiness of once you're here, there's lots to do. And so they've added outdoor experiences into the visitor guide. So that's very exciting for 2024. So with that, there's lots more, but that I think is a full plate of things that are going on. So thank you for the time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Anything from you today, Loretta?
Madam Chair, I do not have anything today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Moving on from matters from the committee. Any matters?
I just quickly want to announce that I have formalized that I'm going to have my first town hall on February 21st at Salazar, mostly regarding what's going on in the Cerrillos Road corridor. And so I'm inviting any counselors that are interested and any community members. I will be sending out an email, but thank you, and I'm excited to get started.
Wonderful. Thank you. Matters from the chair. I don't have any. I need to go grab some dinner. So our next meeting will be on Wednesday, February 21st. I will actually not be there. So I imagine Counselor Chavez will be stepping in for me as chair. And at 5:03.